impromptu topics. It started with chaos. That's how it was at first, but how we can benefit from the chaos. So there was a clear definition of what is improvisation and impromptu. Improvisation is we have to improve on something, keep working on, build stories, etc., etc. And then impromptu is something you react immediately. Like if you hear a topic, you have to talk about it. That's impromptu. That's what we understood. And then there was a practical activity like building a story, just like the whisper story we all would have played in our school or college, right? One story, but here, instead of not knowing, but we knew everybody's story. So it started off with, I had a pet dragon. It went on very well, and then it ended with, my pet dragon was a murderer. Though my pet dragon was a murderer, I provided unconditional love. The improvisation went on. And after that, we brainstormed what are the tips that we could do to, improve things. So there were a lot of good tips, like we can use the word "and then" when we build a story, and we can use connectors or visual aids and lie up to whatever we can do. We can lie about it, use our imagination, and build tall tales. Say something which looks like real, but it isn't. Leave the audience with ambiguity. Maybe it is real, maybe not. So those are good tips that we understood from the session, making it unbelievable, be ridiculous with logic. So we got all these tips, and then we did the same thing again with a different start and end. Well, the second time it was including all these tips. So it started with, once upon a time, there was a couple. That's how the story started. And it ended with, the couple got divorced, and their pet dragon gets visitation time from the couple. While, when the story was going on, we also got to know that it is indeed a Chinese dragon, which can fly as well as swim. And the dragon had an elephant who is a friend of him. So that's how we traveled, but I could say this story did not get anywhere because the couple got separated. Well, after this session, what we learned is, the second time, with all the tips, it was a lot of fun. We had more energy and liveliness. And then we did this one more time. So this time, the third time, everybody was like, okay, we understood what we need to do. And then the third story started with, once upon a time in a faraway land. Sounds like a classic story, right? And then the story ended with, the donkey woke up in the farm and realized that he's free, and he's just a donkey. And in the story, we also figured out that it is indeed a flying donkey, and this donkey is also an addict. He took some steroids. And he also found himself inside the Matrix world, which is not real, and he's trying to come out of the Matrix world. So all these happened within the story, and finally, the donkey realized it is just a donkey. So these are the funny stories we had, but what was the actual learning from them? So we got to take, like, when we are doing improvisation, we have to ask ourselves the questions where, when, and why, and if we give answers to that, it will be helpful. So after all these improvisation techniques, we can adapt this to the impromptu, which is what we do in our table topics. So the second half of the session was about impromptu tips. There were some beautiful tips we brainstormed, so I can present it to you. Ask questions to get some time for your table topics. Relate to a personal story. That is the best thing we can immediately come up with. Engage the audience by asking questions. And don't give obvious answers. That was a good tip. When a question is being heard from a table topic, don't give an immediate obvious answer. Take some time, build your story. Pick a topic and add flavors. Those were some good tips. And listen to others. Relate to something you have in your mind. This is actually a good tip that I found it interesting because we have some in our mind. We can relate it to the topic we just heard. So it is kind of mapping. And we also understood there is a technique called PREP, give an example, and then loop it back to the point. So that was a wonderful tip we hear, prep, which would help us in our table topics. And we also understood the more topics we do, we'll get better at it. And quite interesting tip I heard at the end. Use some tongue twisters before you begin the topic. So these were the tips we heard. And then three volunteers did 3 different topics, and we ended the session. So it was a fun-filled session, a lot of learning. I believe for the next conference, we all are together for the table topics.